Hello, my name is Brian. I'm a writer, and I have over 25 books published on Amazon. Welcome to the next video in this series. It's Chapter 21, Shadows. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me distribute these videos to everybody. Chapter 21, Shadows. Mrs. Fitz spent almost 10 minutes stowing the groceries. Michael stood by with his big arms crossed over his chest. His expression was blank, and he looked around from time to time with his eyes glazed over. "Get yourself outside if you're so restless," his mother said. He shrugged once and then went to the front door. The storm outside was still raging, and the rain fell heavily. He stared out the window in hopes that the rain would subside. Philip looked up the hall a few times to see the man glowering unhappily at the weather. "Is that boy still inside?" Mrs. Fitz said. "The storm is still bad," Philip said. "Oh, that," she said with a scoff. When she was done, she looked around and nodded with satisfaction. Then she looked him in the eye. "And how are you getting on, lad?" "I'm fine, Mrs. Fitz." She frowned and looked him over from head to toe. "I suppose you would be, though I've never known a man to admit when he needs something. Really, I'm fine." "Humph." She went down the hall to the front door. Michael gathered up their coats and the umbrella. She opened the door with one backward glance at the young priest. "Aye, I suppose you'll do," she said. Philip followed them out to the front porch. Michael rushed to the truck and brought it as close to the door as possible. Then he jumped out to lead his mother with the umbrella over her head. He had to help her climb into the passenger seat. The running board was at least a foot off the ground, and he almost had to pick her right up so she could get inside. She looked back at Philip with a look of aggravation on her face. Then her expression changed to utter shock and horror. She pointed, and Michael looked towards him as well. His jaw dropped, and he puffed out his chest and flexed his arms. He took up a fighting stance and started advancing towards him. "No, Michael," Mrs. Fitz screeched. "It's a thing of the devil himself. You cannot fight it." Philip frowned and looked all around him, from the door at his back to the pickup truck in the drive. He saw a large shadow crouching in the doorway, but that was all. "What's wrong?" he asked innocently. "Can you not see it, lad?" the old lady screamed. "The demon is right at your back." He turned again and saw that the shadows inside seemed to be swirling from the shifting light, filtering through the dark clouds overhead. He stepped into the doorway, and both Michael and his mother shouted at him to stop. He pursed his lips and continued through to the foyer. Almost at once, the sun shone through a patch of clear blue in the skies. The shadows dispersed, and he turned with a shrug and his arms out from his sides. "It's nothing, Mrs. Fitz," he said. "It's just shadows." "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, he's driven the demon back again," she said with awe. Michael rushed forwards and stepped into the foyer with him. He looked in every direction and then turned wide eyes on the young priest. "Boyle, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen a man do," he sputtered. "It's fine, Michael," he said gently. "Aye, it's fine now. I was ready to tear it limb from limb, even though I know I wouldn't stand a chance against it. You walked right into its face and banished it with a look. You've got my respect, Father." "I'm not hush with that," Michael interrupted. "You've got more courage than any man I've met." Philip blushed slightly and nodded his thanks. Your mom needs to get home, he said. I don't know what you and she saw, but I'm fine. She needs to get home and have some tea or something. Aye, Father, you're right, Michael said. But if you need anything, you call me. Don't hesitate. I'll do that. Now get your mother home. And just like that, the storm ended. The black clouds that dominated the skies since dawn began to break up, and the sun shone brightly onto the church and its grounds. Michael put the pickup in gear and he drove away with his mother. Philip stepped onto the muddy driveway and watched them go. Mrs. Fitz waved to him enthusiastically, and he returned it. He smiled absently and thought of the looks of sheer terror on their faces just minutes ago. He looked back at the front door to the church and frowned. He approached the door with his eyes narrowed. He searched up and down for the cause of the fear he had seen on the Fitz's faces. He could see nothing. He stepped into the doorway and searched even more. Still he could find nothing. Father Kyle walked up and down the highway for exercise every day. When he was no more than a few hundred yards from the crossroads, a pickup truck drove past him. It came to a sudden stop with its brakes screeching. The driver's door flew open and Michael Fitzgerald got out and stormed towards him with a face like a thundercloud. "Father," he shouted, "my ma would speak with you." Kyle was half ready to run. He well knew what Mrs. Fitz and her son thought about him, and he did not want to get a beating. The passenger side door opened, and he could hear the elderly housekeeper calling to him. "Have mercy, for God's sake, Father! Don't make me climb down from this infernal machine." Kyle sighed heavily and gave up on the idea of running. Michael grabbed his arm, much more gently than he expected, and guided him to the side of the truck. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Fitz," Kyle said. "Don't give me that," she barked. "I'll have you know that we just witnessed that young man drive the demon off for a second time today." "Second time?" Kyle muttered. "Aye, for the second time. He drove it out of the foyer during Mass, and he just drove it out of the church door while me and Michael watched." "What?" "It's true, Father," Michael said. "It was standing in the doorway, crouched and ready to pounce on the lad. Then he turned and, quick as you like, walked into its face and drove it off with a look." Kyle looked at both of them in amazement. He had sensed that there was something special about Brother Philip, and he himself had seen the boy drive the creature out of the foyer during Mass. For him to have banished the beast from the main floor again bordered on miraculous. "You're sure of what you saw?" "As sure as the resurrection of Christ," Mrs. Fitz stated. "I'm telling you, you could learn something about courage from that boy." "I think you're right," he mumbled. "Michael, let's go," she said. "I'm keen to get back home." Michael jumped into the driver's side, and Father Kyle watched them speed off. All the way back to his cabin, his thoughts about Philip and the demon were in turmoil. Philip returned to the kitchen with an uneasy feeling beginning to take hold of him. He had told Father Kyle and Mrs. Fitz and her son that it was just shadows they had seen when they swore they were looking at the demon. His rational mind told him that was the truth. "What if your rational mind is the problem?" a voice said into his head. "Maybe you're not supposed to use your rational mind when you're dealing with the underworld." He scowled and shook his head. "I'm supposed to base everything on superstition, like the people around here?" He frowned and decided that he needed to keep up with the modern world. The modern world did not have room for demons or supernatural creatures in it. The modern world relied on logic and evidence. Without evidence and rational thinking, we might as well go back to burning witches, he said bitterly. But we're not talking about witches, the voice said. We're talking about demons. Jesus himself cast out hundreds of demons in his day. Philip scowled again and stepped out onto the back porch. The sun was bright and the air had that freshly washed feeling from all the rain. He took a deep breath and stared into the distance. Thanks for watching the video. I'll see you all again soon.